Hey everyone, welcome back to John's Watch. Today I'm taking a look at a new game called Erenshor. This game was released on Steam in early access on April 14th, 2025. Its regular price is $25.99 Canadian, or your regional equivalent, and it's developed and published by Bergy Media. I really wanted to be a little bit cheeky and try and conceal the main premise of this game until later in the video and reveal it as a big surprise. But it's easier just to talk about it up front, and it's probably in the title. But this is a single-player simulated MMO, which is just fascinating to me. The store page says it's a single-player nod to the MMORPGs of the past. Partner up with our signature simulated players to experience all the joys of open-world MMORPG gameplay on your own schedule and without the time commitments. Thousands of items, quests, raids, and secrets to discover. So this is exactly what it says. This is basically a simulated MMORPG. Think of it. It's very old school. So a little bit like early World of Warcraft. I think EverQuest is probably one of the biggest influences for this game. But obviously the key gimmick is it's completely single player, completely offline. All of the other players that you're seeing online are all bots, they're all AI, which is just incredible because you can talk to them, you can chat to them. You can only chat very simple things, like if you can do local chat, or you can do a global chat. If you do a global chat and say hello or something, then everyone else, all the other players, the sim players in the chat or in the world, will all say some variation of hello back to you. It's very, very charming and so impressive that they've managed to create such a one-to-one of an online MMORPG, but completely local and completely offline. It's so clever. And I guess one of the other key parts of the game is that players, or the sim players, the other online players, the simulator players, they just call them sim players in the game, they don't speed ahead of you if, like the description said, you've got time commitments or not too much time in your schedule. They keep up with your progress. So basically, the world and economy and player base isn't progressing without you, which is really nice. So you can legitimately group up with players, with the same players. You can add them to your friends list, and if, hey, you've had a really busy week at work, haven't had a chance to play it Monday to Friday, you hop back on Saturday, maybe you'd be dreading, oh, all my friends have probably played another 40 hours without me, they're probably at end game content. No, they stick to your schedule. When you hop on, they'll have done nothing since you last played. But there are, obviously, not every player in the game is at your level. As soon as I joined, I could see these high-level people walking around and just one-shotting things I was struggling with. All the sim players have their own personalities. One of them, for instance, a very charming guy that I kind of found amazing. It was called Scrubby, and he would frequently talk about himself in the third person. He'd be if we were doing a group together, he'd show up and he'd be Scrubby is here. Just, yeah, he stuck with me because he did have his own unique personality as an AI. When you're doing a dungeon together with a party, you as, the main character, you get to pick up all the loot. And if the loot is for a class that somebody in your party is, they will literally type in chat, oh, that looks like something I could use, could I have it? And depending on the personality, it'll affect how they ask for it. Some of them are really polite, and they're oh, that would be great for me, could I have it please? Smiley face. And then some of the other ones will be a lot more brusque, and they'll be give me that now. It's just great that it doesn't feel like every NPC, every sim player is interchangeable. They're not. They do have specific characteristics, which you'll actually very quickly come to recognize. As I said, it's in early access right now. As of June 2025, there are only 4 classes right now. There's an Arcanist, which is a mage, a caster, which is what I went for because when I signed into the game, it used my Steam username, which was Anor Wando, And I was like, yeah, I'll just make Anor Wando my character. So yeah, I just made a female arcanist, because that's Anor Wando. There's also a druid, there's also a paladin, and there's also a rogue, I think it was called. It's a rogue or a thief, same kind of thing. And when you're gearing up to do a dungeon, or even just running around doing quests, it's definitely encouraged to create a party with the SimPlayers. And when I first started, I was just kind of randomly adding whoever was around. Like, I would literally, go /shout to do global chat, and went like LFG looking for group, and then the chat would explode. Like, there would be people saying, no, sorry, I'm too busy, I'm waiting for a buddy or whatever. But you'd always get a handful of like 5 or 6 people who would be like, yeah, sounds great, I'll be right there. And their characters would literally run up to you wherever you were, and you'd be able to like click on them to like interact with them and then invite them to your party. And yeah, when I was starting out, I was just adding whoever showed up first, pretty much. But recently I started using the group builder or group finder system, which basically shows you everyone online who's around your level. And I basically use that to add one of each other class that I wasn't to my party, or to send them invites via Whisper. So clever. And it made such a difference having one of every class in the party. And as an arcanist, I do like hardly any melee damage, and I'm pretty squishy, so I would always hang back from enemies and cast spells from range. But doing that, I would very quickly run out of my mana points. And the rogue, or the thief, it's a duelist, not a rogue or a thief. The duelist, kind of like a rogue or a thief, but they're called a duelist. They have a skill that recovers mana to the party. And like one time, I just threw together a group, went into a dungeon, I realized we had like 4 casters, like nobody to tank, nobody to heal our magic, and it was just a disaster. We died really quickly. But then whenever I had the duelist in my party, it made such a huge difference, because I could just use all my most powerful spells and not have to worry about running out of MP. Like I said, there are dungeons, there are quests as you'd expect. I was honestly a little surprised that like one of like the first starter quests wasn't like kill 10 boars or whatever, because that's such an MMO style quest. But they've actually been decently interesting quests, like kind of story-driven quests. And the quest system and I guess the dialogue system is super old school. Sometimes in order to progress a quest to the next stage, you have to be talking to an NPC and literally type the phrase they're looking for in chat. So like one of the ones recently, I had to like interact with an NPC, open up chat, type soul gem, and that would progress their quest. And yeah, super old school. I actually found it like a little too old school for me. This is definitely meant to evoke memories of, like I said, early World of Warcraft, EverQuest, very early MMORPGs, which I was never into. MapleStory was my MMO, which was a little bit later, like mid-2000s, I guess. And I personally always prefer, modern trappings in my games. So I found the super old school style a little harder to wrap my head around. Luckily, the game's already got a fantastic wiki, and it like showed all the quests that are available in like the starting area. So I just used that as like my guide of how to do the first area, and that made a huge difference. I think another part of the old school aesthetic is that the UI is fairly basic. Like, it all gets the job done, but like there's a lot of text. The inventory system looks a little, low budget, I guess, but I think that's partially the old school feel, and also partially this game's in early access. It's only been out for just over 2 months as I'm recording this. Hasn't been out very long, so I imagine some stuff will probably be, spruced up, polished up a little bit in the future to make it look a little bit better. But yes, it does not hold your hand at all. There are even options. When you start it up, you can access the server settings, which is where you can make all sorts of tweaks. You can increase like the rate of experience. By default, it's on 1 times. There's like presets. You can set it to like recommended, which is 1 times. Set it to like casual, which is like 1.5 times. I just put it on casual and then even bumped it up to 2 times later, because it is very slow. It's very slow to level up, which is very old school, like I said. And you've also got 2 toggles for having a mini-map and having quest objectives marked. I obviously wanted both of those on, but the recommended settings have those off. So again, a real throwback to the old days of MMOs. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't hold your hand, it's slow, it's methodical, it is very, very retro, but it's so charming and just really so impressive at how well they've managed to simulate a huge online community just for you. And if you are interested in this game and you don't like the idea of, you know, experience being super slow and actually having to like grind enemies in order to, you know, ding to the next level just so you can take on a boss, something like that, you can actually bump the experience rate up way more than you want. I think it maxes out at 5 times, which should honestly be plenty. But yeah, you can tweak all sorts of settings in the server admin menu, which is very, very cool. I really appreciate that addition because I think if it was like entirely vanilla and like super, super slow, I might have like bounced off it a little bit earlier. But being able to bump up the experience just so I could, you know, get to more content quicker was pretty nice for me. The world looks absolutely huge as well. I've only got to the first, you know, handful of areas, but if you open up like the world map, see how much stretches north of you. Yeah, there's a lot to this game, and it's pretty much constantly being updated. As I'm recording this, it was updated today. I think literally in this week it's already had like 3 updates. Yeah, constant updates. The devs also say that they only plan to be in early access for about 18 months. So, you know, probably another, year and a half or so from now, it'll be getting close to leaving early access, may have just left early access. There already seems like so much content in it right now, and it's such a good price for such a clever game. I'm really enjoying it myself, but I feel like I might leave it now until it's done early access, just to get like the full polished experience. Because yeah, it is so clever, and I think it's only going to get better as it goes on. Yeah, this really is something quite special. There you go, that was a look at Erenshor. Thank you guys very much for watching. Make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!